It's Sunday, March 20th, 2022. Welcome back to our Master Reference Journal series. This is where it starts to get interesting and fun because we're going to start putting things in this journal that we're going to use over and over again. If you are visiting for the first time, please stick around to the end. I will have some information for you. So welcome to our visitors. We are back on the desk, and as you can see, my master journal has changed quite a bit since you saw it, probably the week before the dying episode, which I guess it would be the 6th was the last time you saw it. I made these buttons out of chipboard and some spare brass buttons that I found in my button jar. I added some jute so that I can have a closure, and I probably am going to cut that off because I don't really want that much cord. I ran this right around the spine. I wove it through the Midori. It's not attached on the back, as you can see. It's just free floating. I could attach it with some decorative elements. We'll see. This is clearly not finished yet, and I have some repair work to do already. So this spine, this part right here, I had to add to it because when I changed the spine I was using for the color on the camera, I lost my fold over, so I had to make a fold over. Here's where I anchored my button. Because these buttons are made out of chipboard, they only have one hole in them. That's a design feature that I will have to correct in future, but I was just kind of on a creative roll and didn't think about how I was going to actually attach these. If you want a tutorial on how to make these, leave me a comment in the show notes. They're very easy to make. They do take a little bit of time, but not a lot of time. And so then I have my molded spine. I could cover this, but I think I'm just going to actually leave it to remind me of what not to do. So then I also added this elastic hairband. It's a scrunchy hairband. Costs, I don't know, $1. Got them 3 for $1. Or I mean, in a 3-pack for $3. The reason I added that is because I added an inside element. This element is based on one of my most popular DIYs ever, and it was so popular I had to take it down in private, the video, because my soap series was not getting any views. But what this is a little slide out folio style notebook. It's made out of a mailing envelope, and in the original one, I had it set up so that I could turn this whole side back, and so the writing surface would actually be back here, but I can't do that with this one. So I made a flip out. This is actually right here is the top of the envelope. I left the brass closure. I don't know why, but I did. And this, because it's a mailing envelope, goes all the way down. And what I think, having made this, is that I need to add a piece of chipboard or a piece of corrugated cardboard, or maybe just a scrap piece of plastic from the bottom of a cloth shopping bag to give this a little more stability, because it's pretty flexible. So I needed this pocket here if I go to the hardware store and I need paint swatches, for example. There's my spot to put them where they won't get all crumpled up, or receipts if I need to carry receipts, and so forth. And then I have this other pocket right here. So I did a simple, I just ripped notebook paper in half, and this ends up measuring 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I just did a pamphlet stitch. How I'm going to attach this is probably going to be Brad's, but don't quote me on that. Right now it's just clipped. So that's the element based on my hipster PDA. But that's not what today's program is about. So you can see I've added these are not glued on, they're just stuck on right now. I've added a cover to my sample sheets because my tracing paper on the top was getting a little banged up and I didn't want that to happen. Then also I added a cover. This is just a card. These are both just cardstock covers, reprints of papers that I've made that I like. And it's solely to protect the inside. This is that blank folio for instructions and diagrams and whatnot. But what we're going to work on today is the black folio, which will go in the back. Why do we need a black folio? Well, I was inspired by somebody else who was making a folio, and it was Gail, oh dear, I practiced her last name. I even heard her say it, and now, Agastelli. I kept trying to put an N in there where it didn't belong. So anyway, I saw her doing this, and I thought, oh, that needs to go into our master reference journal. So I just have 3 right now, 8.5 by 11, folded in half, and you'll see what we're going to do with this. This is a swatch page for our favorite papers that we make. So I took a 2x2 swatch, and you can get 6 to a page. I've only got 5 here, but you can get 6 to a page. And these are papers that are in my master files, my master sheets, which I think you've seen before. And I have these 2 huge files of papers, and I don't want to drag them out every time I need to see if I have a paper that coordinates. And here are my altered masters, where I've taken something and altered it and then liked it enough and said, oh, I'm going to use that. So I don't want to drag these folders out every time I need to see if I have a paper that will work in a specific spot. Now we have a spot, and this is what we're going to work on today. Okay, this is a part where it's going to get a little confusing for people who have already started their from scratch master journal, because I'm going to be flipping back and forth between 2 methods to accommodate anybody who started late and started on our altered book journal. And so pay attention to which journal I'm talking about. So here in the back I have all my materials, and I want to talk about black cardstock, really any dark cardstock, for a second, because I didn't do it in the beginning. So there are varying levels of quality in cardstock. This is a part of a 6x6 sheet that came from the dollar store, and you can see it is not through and through black paper. It's got a white core. You can see when I folded it, and you can see when I cut it, that these edges have a white core. Not to worry. There's a simple way to fix that if dollar store stuff is all you can afford for this project. Get your black ink out, and I'm only going to do one side because it's obvious. Get your black ink out, if you have ink, and just run it along wherever the core is showing. Nobody will ever know. Of course, if you did a better job than I did, nobody would ever know. That's one way. The other way, and I'm not going to demonstrate this because it'll just take up tons of time. The other way is to take a black, well, maybe I will. Take a black Sharpie, and this one you have to be a little more careful with, but you just turn it on its side and run the Sharpie right along the white core, and same result. You disguise that, and nobody will ever know. So the dollar store or any kind of black cardstock that has a white core can be fixed, and you can use it. This is, I would say this is a medium weight cardstock, and it's totally adequate for this project. All right, so there's a little sneaky tip that I use all the time. Now, to the cardstock that I actually used for this project. This is Hero Arts 111. It is very, very thick, and you can see by looking at it, it's through and through, no white core. It's black all the way through. And you can also see that you need a scoreboard to score, and I did not do a very good job because this stuff is hard to bend. You're going to have to burnish your score marks down really well. But this is a very nice cardstock for the cover of this signature, so that's why I'm talking about it. Compared to the dollar store stuff, a lot more flexible. So that's our cover. And then for my actual signature, I used it's still a medium weight, but it's between the cover weight and the dollar store stuff. So let's talk about our instructions. This is, if you haven't seen this, it's because this part was for altered books. So this is what we're doing. We need 4 sheets minimum of 8.5 by 11 black cardstock. And this is for our black signature. We're going to fold 2 sheets in half, which you've already seen. Oh, they're underneath. 2 sheets in half, and we're going to cut 2 sheets in half. So fold 2 and cut 2. We're going to trim a half. We're going to trim the 2 half sheets to 5 inches wide. I'll show you that in a minute. And we're going to round the corners if we want to. You don't have to. I chose to this time because I always forget to round corners. It's a refining detail, but I always forget about it. So this time I did it. We're going to score a 1/2 inch from the top of those 2. They're now 5 by 7 or roughly 5 by 7. We're going to score a 1/2 inch from the top, so opposite where we rounded corners. We're going to fold that, and then we're going to glue it to the insides of one of the folded 8.5 by 11. What the heck am I talking about? This is what I'm talking about. Here's one of my 8.5 by 11 where I just folded it, and here are the 2 pieces of the one that I cut. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold this over and very carefully glue it down. I hooked these over the top. You can see by trimming these to, I think I said 5 inches. I hope I said 5 inches. Centimeters do not apply. Yes, no, I trimmed it to 5 1/4. Trim it to 5, trim it to 5 1/4. Either one will work. Now, what I want to do is snug this up really well so that I have about a 1/4 inch on this side showing, and a 1/4 inch on this side. This be 1/8 of an inch if you trimmed it up closer like I did. Now, the reason why this cutting of this and trimming of these 2 pieces once you cut them apart is that you want these folds to hit parallel. And I haven't glued this down, it's moving around. You want these to be as parallel as possible because, are you in camera? That's the next question. You want this fold, this bottom fold, to be as parallel as possible. So, why are we doing that? The goal of this black folio is to give us a swatch space for the swatches we talked about earlier. So, if we just did, excuse me, if we just did folded 8.5 by 11, you certainly can. If you don't feel like doing this extra part, don't do it. But if we just do folded 8.5 by 11, we're going to have 6, 12, 18, 24 swatches per folio. If we add these two little fold-up things, then we add 6, 12, we add 24 more swatches. And remember, we're doing this to give us a place to keep a record of our papers. So, either one is fine. I'm not going to finish this part because I'm going to show you what you can do further in the altered notebook, because the altered book people will actually be doing this. If you want to, instead of putting swatches on the outside of these, you can cut these little, these are 2 inches. They're 2 inches wide. I scored at a 1/2 inch, giving us an inch and a half here, and you can do swatches or strips. I would do strips on these. Jack them up so you have a waterfall effect, which manipulating these is a little challenging. You're going to have to be patient. You're going to have a waterfall effect where you're going to have all these flip ups where you can put strips of your papers. So let's do that in the altered book. I had to glue one down because as you can see, it is what it is. Nope, that is 5-inch piece, but it's for the other one. Okay, for the altered book, you're going to cut 5, you're just going to leave it at 5.5, and you're going to cut strips. Your strips will be 2 inches. You'll make a 1/2 inch, which this ended up being, that's why there's an extra fold there. This ended up being, I didn't measure correctly. Anyway, fold it a half inch down, and butt this fold line against your previous line. If these get out of square and they get a little wonky, then I have a trick for you. You can make lines that no one else will see. And there you go. There's your waterfall, and you'll be able to flip up. You'll have a swatch here and a place for notes here if you want to put notes in here, and so on. So here's your trick. I hope you can see this. Because I didn't fold it square, I ended up with a crooked line here. So in order to fix that so you won't be able to see it when I butt this up, I'm going to have to square up this one, and that'll leave this white gap. So we don't want to see that. We don't want anybody else to know how crooked we cut it. So black Sharpie, and we'll just lightly stroke the black Sharpie down that pencil line and cover it up. When you do that, what happens is you can square this second one up and open it up, draw a straight line here, and then with your Sharpie you've filled in this gap so there's no white showing, and that will, fix your mistake. You can see that's what it's supposed to look like. Visually one continuous piece of black. What did we do today? We made either in our altered book, we made our waterfall to put swatches in, or for our from scratch master journal, we did some flip ups and an optional waterfall. Now, altered book people, if you have to correct a mistake like I did, I know I said you didn't have to glue any pages for this section, but I didn't count on making such a huge mistake. Excuse me. So what I would suggest is, if you have to correct your mistakes, before you start putting in your paper swatches, glue 2 sheets together, and I would take out at least 2 sheets in between if you know, when you go on and make another waterfall swatch page like this. Now, this is what I meant by doing strips instead of swatches. You can still do 1x1 swatches, but really 2x2 is better, because if you're not going to have 2x2, then this long strip gives you a better idea of the paper that you're sampling. So in this instance, I have the same paper printed 2 different ways. And this goes back to our using your printer episode. The setting on my printer for this one to reproduce what was on the glass was, gosh, I think it was a straight copy. And I kept looking at it and thinking, that's too white, and where did that blue come from? I don't remember that being in there. I was looking for more of a sepia tone paper. So then I remembered, oh, when I print this, you know, when I reprint my master print, I need to adjust the setting to get a sepia tone paper versus a cooler tone. Remember, warm, cool, from our color preview episode. So up here, what I'll do is put a sticker or, you know, a piece of paper that has notes on it. Change your printer setting for this paper, depending on which one you want. Okay, now that's master people. Or, I mean, that's altered book people. The from scratch master journal people. We've got our 2 sides down, and you can do 3 different ways. You can do the simple way, which is just folding your 8.5 by 11 in half and swatching 6 swatches per leaf. These are called leaves. You can do the flip down way, where you cut it down, round the corners, do all that stuff, and then you're going to double your capacity. And if you really want to go nuts, you can do this method. In this instance, I used a swatch from our paper dyeing episode, that color that I really like, this darker plummy, I don't know what color it is, but it's a plummy dark color. And so I want to have a reference to that. Can I ever make that in dye again? I don't think so. But also, this is a good way to salvage edges and use up scraps. So when we did this dyeing episode, on this end of the paper, the edge got chewed up, and it did on this end a little bit as well. So I just pulled that 1-inch strip off, and I used it as a sample for my reference book. Oh my goodness, we're over 20 minutes and she's still talking. Yep, sure am. Couple more things. I thought about it when I went to do this final edit and run through for producing the video, and I think altered master journal people who are working in altered book, take 3 pages out instead of 2 in between your swatch pages. From scratch people, I think that maybe putting the waterfalls on is not a good idea. I think that you're going to run into bulk issues. So either do it the very simple way with folded folios for your signature, or do the folded plus the flip ups, and that will save on bulk for you. Take your screenshot, because next week we're going to make a couple of our own tools and templates. You will need a non-flexible see-through ruler. It can be pink, it can be green, it can be blue, it doesn't matter as long as you can see through it and it's not flexible. We're going to be making our own tearing ruler with that ruler.
You'll also need some chipboard, scraps from cereal boxes, cracker boxes, or a scrap piece of package backing. It needs to be 4 inches wide by 6.5 inches long. We're going to make a tag template with that, and your optional material for that would be masking tape to strengthen it because it's a template. We're going to use it over and over and over again. The last one is a file folder tab template. You'll need a file folder tab or the end of a cereal box. Cheerios boxes works great for that. They're almost perfect. Glue and scissors as well. New people, visitors, and new subscribers, shout out to you. I have not forgotten about you. If you want to join us on any of these projects, please do. Not everybody is up to the current project. Until I see you again, take care, God bless, see you real soon.